Welcome to another episode, number 78 of What Does This Button Do? With Geeks on Tour. It's an educational show about smartphones and tablets.
We are old dogs learning new tricks and teaching you.
And hi, I'm Jim, and here together with my wife Chris, we are Geeks on Tour. Do you think your smartphone is smarter than you? And do you have questions about your Android phone or your iPad tablet? And how do you learn about all of these amazing devices that are all over the place?
Well, we are geeks who teach, and we think the best way to learn is a little bit at a time on a regular basis. So that's why we came up with this weekly show. Then our website, geeksontour.com, is a repository for all sorts of material, videos, and documents on how to learn smartphones and tablets and computers.
Cool. Where are we now, Chris?
Well, we are back home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, after having gone to an RV rally up in Tallahassee.
That was fun.
And then on the way back, we stopped on the Suwannee River.
Way down a Ponda.
And we had a great afternoon.
Okay, on today's show, we'll have a tip of the day as normal. We'll make a collage using Google Photos. Our beginner's lesson is all about social media with our special guest, Abby Stokes, and we'll be talking to her. That's great. Our app of the day today is Sit or Squat. I think we'll let Abby do that one. That looks like a fun one. And our show is recorded on YouTube and available on our Geeks on Tour channel. You can always find the links at geeksontour.com/weekly show. We invite you to become a member at Geeks on Tour. We are member supported.
And one of the benefits of membership is our show notes, which I think I'm going to start calling class notes. So let me just give you an example from our last episode where we taught about what's new with Google Photos. One of the topics was uploading pictures from the computer directly to a web album. So let's say you remember something about that, but you don't remember exactly how to do it, so you want to go to the show notes. What you do is go to our geeksontour.com weekly show, and as you scroll down, you'll see the listing of all our episodes, and each one has show notes. So last one was number 77. I click on show notes. You do have to be a member in order to see this. That's where you have to have a membership username and password. You log in, and now you'll scroll down and you can read all the notes from the last show. And when you see the one you were looking for, so for example, it's here, uploading from the computer, then you can click on this link and it will take you straight to the show at the point in time, in this case 16 minutes and 19 seconds, where we demonstrate that particular thing. So the class notes gives you the ability to save a lot of time and still learn. Right. Still have trouble getting back and forth through the right screen here.
I see somebody here that's having an issue with echo. I hope that's the only person. Sometimes if you have the show on in two different places, on two different devices, or even in two windows on your own screen, you might hear that echo. So I'm hoping that that's the issue.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone else says they hear us fine. Okay.
So the quick tip today is still a Google Photos thing, and it is about making a collage. So I want to go to the document camera.
All right. Just a second here.
And I mean, we taught a lot about what Google Photos can do, and this is just a real quick one, and I'm going to show you on the Android. It works exactly the same on the iPhone or on the computer. So you go to Google Photos, and there are two ways. First of all, if you go to the Assistant, you'll see a button right at the top for collage. and it says select 2 to 9 photos or videos, and you do that just by checking. But the thing I don't like about this way is these are all of my pictures. Now, I don't remember which one I decided was the best of these. That's the one I want in the collage. But if, instead of doing it from the assistant, if I go to albums, I have already put my best pictures into the album for April. So I can just pick these, knowing that they are my best ones of our day around the Swanee River. So now I long press, that one gets selected. I'll select 4 more. So I now have 5 pictures selected, tap a plus, and collage. And it just couldn't be easier. I think that is a really cool feature of Google Photos. Making a collage by selecting pictures, click plus, click collage, you're done.
I think that's a great tip. Great.
That's a quick tip for the day.
All right. Okay. We would like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is at youtube.com/2geeksontour. Beginner's lesson. Are you ready for this?
All right. We have a special guest today, Abby Stokes. Years ago, we were both asked to speak at the Quad Cities Computer Club in Moline, Illinois by Vicki Wazenho. And ever since then, we have just been hearing more and more about Abby, and sometimes we even speak in the same place. And we got to meet her in Phoenix. So we welcome her to the show. Hi, Abby.
Hello there.
There she
We
is.
followed each other all around the country.
Yes, and it's really tough, I gotta say, when we follow. You're a hard act to follow. Everybody's just talking about how wonderful you were.
I would say the same about you guys, because I would arrive someplace and say, Geeks on Tour was just here, and so I think it's in equal measure.
But it's certainly a lot of fun. Abby has written a book. Actually, you've written 3, right?
Yeah, I think I've written 4.
4. Okay.
And this is the 3rd revision of this one,
This
right?
is the 3rd revision of that book, yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty impressive. It's from A to Z.
Yeah, I call it soup to nuts. So if you have a friend who has never used a computer or a smartphone or a tablet, and they're sort of on the fence about whether they should do it, the first chapter even explains why they might want to and why they might not want to before we get to buying it and setting it up. So it really starts at the very beginning for people.
And then the last revision, the main thing you added was about smartphones and tablets, not just computers, right?
Exactly. So the step-by-step instructions that happen after you've purchased it now divide up between computers, smartphones, and tablets in equal measure.
And in addition to the book, she also has a website. Where's that, Abby?
It is askabbystokes.com. So what I did when we wrote the book, we realized, I think the book is 483 pages, and I realized we couldn't have it more than that or else it'd be too uncomfortable to use. So there were areas where, in order to show things, we decided that videos were the best way to do it. So there are 16 free videos on the website that basically the book leads you to them. So there'll be a point when I'll be saying something about using text messaging with your smartphone or how to activate the emojis. And rather than go into it in the book, you get led to the website where it shows you the video, and under each video are printable step-by-step instructions. So they mirror what's in the book.
Yeah, you know that we agree with you on videos.
Yes.
In fact, what we are discovering is you and I just agree on just about everything. I look forward to hanging out with you some in New York City in the fall.
I know. We're going to figure out those dates.
Yeah, late summer. Well, before we just jump right into the social media, I think people should hear a little bit about your story of how your mom got you into being a computer teacher?
Oh, sure. So it was, oh gosh, I think it was a little bit over 20 years ago. I had a computer. I'd been working at a law firm. That's how I got introduced. And Mom asked me whether or not I would be able to teach her how to use a computer. And I smiled, as you do when you love your mother, but in my head I was thinking, not a chance, because my mother can't change her clock radio when the time changes. She still can't. What I realized is it's all about the benefit. Mom still can't change her clock radio because there's not so much benefit, but my mom wanted to be a librarian when we were kids, and she's a very curious mind. So we might get in fights about why they call a sandbar, and when Mom saw she could get on the internet and search for anything she was looking for, it suddenly motivated her to learn how to use the technology. And she was very smart. It wasn't me. She was the one who came up with, she'd get a little overwhelmed after about 15 minutes at the very beginning. So rather than working for a long time together, every day, twice a day, morning and night, she'd do the 15 minutes. Just turn on the machine, get to her email, read an email, get off of the computer. And that really every day meant she was building her knowledge in a comfortable way rather than a huge, like 1 hour and not doing it again for 7 days. So she taught me how to teach people how to use computers. And she's always been my editor for the book. So she'll read through my drafts and she'll circle some word that doesn't make sense or say, shouldn't you say this here? So before the publisher ever sees it, Mom's the one who's sort of my truth teller.
That's just so cool. You said one word that I want to highlight, and that's curious.
Yes.
To me,
that is what opens the door for everybody.
That is the key. And
Yeah.
we find that that's what our followers are all about. And it's, what does this button do?
Yeah. And I think people should feel like curiosity doesn't lead down a dark path. If people are curious and they want to play with the devices, the only thing I ever say is have a piece of paper and a pen there. So if you decide to change the settings because you're curious, you've written down what the settings were before in case you have remorse and the steps to get to the settings the next time. And you can be as curious as you want at that point, because then you can backtrack and go fix whatever you did that might not be how you want it anymore.
Yeah, good luck remembering to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds great, Abby.
I always have a pad of paper next to me because I know I can't remember where it was I went. So it's just indulging my lack of memory.
Well, I just figure I'll just do this real quick, and if it doesn't work, I'll do it back. But yeah, anyway, that is a good idea. So we know that you speak on lots of different topics all over the country, and we decided to have you speak on social networks. And so by necessity, this is going to be a little bit more of an overview discussion than a step-by-step how-to, although there's a couple of places that you'll tell me to demonstrate something, right?
Right.
Okay. So we have some of your slides from the presentation that you do.
Great. Yes. So the first thing I always say to people, my description of social networking is I refer to it as the green beans on the internet. And the reason why I say that is I know some of you are on social networking, some of you may not be, and some of you probably love people who are not. And you wonder why on earth they don't. And here's what happens in my mind is when you hand a child a plate of food and there's green beans, mashed potatoes, and a hamburger. They'll gobble up the hamburger, they'll gobble up the mashed potatoes, but they won't eat the green beans. And you say to them, well, do you not like green beans? And they say, no, I don't like green beans. And then you say, well, have you ever tasted green beans? And they'll say, well, no, I've never tasted them, but I know I don't like it. And I think that social networking for a lot of people is just that. And I don't care if people don't like social networking or they don't use social networking, but we need to be a little bit more mature about how we look at it than kids with vegetables. So what I like to do is just tell everybody about what different social networks there are out there. What are the benefits? What are the pitfalls? Why people don't like the idea of social networking, which I think is one of the slides that you have, is my favorite slide about social networking.
Yeah.
And it says, on the internet you can be anything you want. It's strange that so many people choose to be stupid. And I think that's really true. I think what we hear are stories about teenagers or ex-Congressman Weiner or other people who do foolish things that they either lose their job or they don't get into college. And the first thing we need to embrace is, I'm imagining your audience is mostly my audience, which is me, a digital immigrant, somebody who's 40 years or older, who wasn't born with a keyboard or a mouse in their hand, but can learn everything there is to learn, keep in mind that most of the people that you see doing stupid things on the internet are digital natives, which means they're 40 years or younger, which means half of them are 20 years or younger, and their frontal lobe is not fully developed. So they're not making the greatest decisions in the world. And that's important to keep in mind, that you, as an older adult using technology, are going to come from a place of wisdom that is just there by the nature of the years you've had on the face of the planet. So I don't think that social networking makes you stupid. I think stupid people do stupid things when they lived in caves and when they use social networking. And if you're not a stupid person, you're not going to fall into some of the pitfalls that happen to people when they use social networking. So that's an important thing for people to remember, is it doesn't change your personality. It's funny, in New York recently, I had somebody stop me on the street and ask me the best question a New Yorker can be asked: how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Instead, I pulled out my phone and I showed him on the GPS how to walk from where we were to Carnegie Hall, and he said, thank you. And then as he walked away, he said, I hate those things. And I said, well, I'm in the business of those things, so can you tell me why you hate them? And he said, because every time I'm at the movies, somebody's phone goes off. And I think he shouldn't be hating the technology. I think he should be questioning whether there are rude people who don't think to turn their phones off, or may have forgotten to turn their phones off. But it's back to social networking is not necessarily the culprit here. I think the other things that stop people from using social networking is a time suck. They hear about people who spend all of their time on social networking instead of actually socializing. And again, that's a personal thing. It's not something I would do, because I much prefer seeing people three-dimensionally. But if you have that fear that social networking is going to take over your time, do what I've suggested a lot of people do, is have a kitchen timer by your computer or by your smartphone when you're using social networking, and limit yourself. Usually, honestly, 15-20 minutes of skimming through what's new on Facebook or what's new on Twitter is probably about as much time as you need at a given sitting. So if you're fearful that you're going to get sucked into several hours, just set a kitchen timer. The National Institute of Health actually says that none of us should be in front of a computer screen for more than 40 minutes without taking a 10-minute break. So it's a good idea. I know, you're laughing. Yes, I know. But it's a good idea, because at 10 minutes, it's a good time to go to the bathroom, pour a martini, do something, just at least move around a little bit, and then come back to the computer. So I think the time suck element. The third reason I think people are hesitant about social networking is it's no different than socializing in real life. And what that means is you've all been to a dinner party where one person sitting beside you is scintillating, and the person over here, you don't want them to choke on a chicken bone, but you'd rather they stop talking. So social networking involves the same thing. You're hearing from people who sometimes have exactly what you'd love to hear, or something you didn't expect to hear that's really interesting, or there are people on there that you'd rather not hear from again. And the good thing is, I'm going to show you when we get into some specifics about Facebook how you can actually block some of the people without them knowing it. You don't have to unfriend them, but you can block their posts, so instead you have a choice to go to them if you want to see their post, but they won't keep showing up for you. So that sort of addresses, for me, the biggest hesitations of why people don't do social networking. And what I'd like to get into, if it's okay, is I want to give just some examples of where social networking actually can save lives, or can enhance your life so much that we can't throw out the baby with the bathwater, when there are certain features about this that are phenomenal. Just recently, so I live in New York City, and I have a cottage in Connecticut. So I have friends on Facebook who live in New York City, some who live in Connecticut, and some like you who I've sort of met through my travels. There's a woman I know in Connecticut whose son has special needs, and they were in a car accident, and the dog, that is his guide dog, when the ambulance came to get them out of the car, the dog ran away. And so they were fine. They got home that night, but he didn't have his guide dog. So she got onto Facebook, and she posted on Facebook an image of the dog. And underneath it, she said what had happened, and she said, if anybody sees the dog, please let us know. Facebook pages aren't just people's personal pages. Businesses can have pages, organizations can have pages, and there's an organization in Connecticut called Connecticut Lost Pets. And so one of her friends who saw the image shared the image in the story on Connecticut Lost Pets, and within about 40 minutes, 15,000 people had seen the picture of the dog. And amongst those 15,000 people, there were two 16-year-old girls who used their smartphone, which is 85% of the people looking at Facebook are doing it on their smartphone. They had their smartphones and they got on their bicycles. And as people looked at the picture of the dog, they would type, "I just saw the dog at the corner of Smith and Charles." And then somebody said, "I saw it running east on Charles." And before you knew it, these girls following Facebook on their phone found the dog, and his leash had gotten hooked on a chain link fence just off of the road.
Wow.
So to me, that's one of those stories that we have to embrace, this phenomenal technology that allows people, not just in the state of Connecticut, but across the globe, to share in real time their feedback or images or ideas spontaneously with each other. So to me, that's when people say Facebook is nothing but a bunch of hooey. You can live with that, and I've got no problem with that, but I think we need to look at some of those special examples and say it really is an amazing kind of technology.
So we're going to talk about more than just Facebook today,
Yeah.
but let's acknowledge that Facebook is the number one.
It's the big player in the playground.
Yeah, but we will do a little bit on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Yeah.
But let's start by getting into Facebook a little bit more in depth. And what's this slide about?
Okay, so that slide that you're seeing, it's an example of what I was saying is you could have friends on Facebook, and that means that what you share, your friends can see, and what they share, you can see. But if you never want to share anything or never have a friend on Facebook, you may want to go to pages and like those pages. So what you're seeing here is I ride a bicycle. So Tour de Lyme is actually the organization that organizes bike trips around Lyme, Connecticut. A friend of mine wrote the book When I'm a Dad. You can see in the upper right corner there, the Greater Cleveland PC User Group has a page. So essentially, you can join different pages on Facebook and never have a single friend, but see the discounts at your local library, or what programs your local library, discount at local restaurants, or what your local library is offering, or join computer user groups and just see what tips it is that they put on Facebook without actually feeling like you're being social. It's just like getting a newspaper in your home, really.
That's exactly how I use it, is as a newspaper, but in a newspaper that I can interact with. I can respond, I can post my own stories.
It's a great way to look at it, yeah.
In fact, it's called the news feed.
That's right, that is called the news feed. And the next slide I'd like to look at is what happens with the news feed is basically the wide strip that comes down the main part of your computer, and anybody that you have chosen to follow, whether it's a person or an organization, what they share appears on the news feed, and it sort of rolls on forever. You can go back for years literally on the news feed. I think an important detail that people should know is often Facebook defaults that your news feed is actually the top stories, as opposed to the most recent stories. From my point of view, I don't care what are the top stories. Usually what I want to see is what's the most recent stuff that my friends have put up, pictures or whatever they're sharing. So in order to be able to change your news feed, if you move your mouse over to the news feed in that left-hand sidebar on your screen and you click on the down arrow, what you'll see is the option of either most recent or top stories. And so you can click on whichever it is you want. In my case, I would click on most recent. The trick is Facebook keeps on defaulting to top stories, so keep on checking that if you prefer the other, so that you actually keep on making sure it's in the order that you want it to be in.
It's a little bit different on the smartphone, so let's actually show that.
Yes, I'm so glad you're doing that, because it is different.
So we're looking, and they really bury it, actually. On the
I know.
In Facebook, if you just looking at Facebook, you're looking at your news feed, and it is the list of stories that Facebook thinks you want to see or wants you to see, such as these suggested posts that are like ads. If you want to go to the most recent, which is just a chronological list, you have to go into the settings. That was that 3-bar menu, and then scroll down until you see on the Android, most recent is right there. I tap on most recent, and now look what's appeared up in the top. It tells me that I am looking at the most recent feed rather than the standard feed. Now I just check this out. Notice that there's still ads.
Yes.
So what I actually even prefer is, instead of most recent or the regular one, I want to just see my feed of my close friends. That, I have discovered, does not show any ads. It does show me everything that my close friends have posted, and in most recent order. So I often go to that view.
I
Now,
didn't know that. I just learned that from you.
yeah, good deal. We learn things from you too. That's how it works, right?
Yes.
Okay, on the iPhone, they vary it even more. So you go into Facebook, and you still need to tap on that three-bar menu. It's in the bottom on the iPhone. And then you find an option called Feeds. And under Feeds, you can find most recent or close friends. And once you tap on those, then it's the same experience. Okay. And a couple other things. You had slides on here on, yeah, go ahead with
Oh,
that one, and I'll show this one on the phone too after you talk about it.
oh, great. So yeah, that's the slide that you're seeing. Is sometimes you write a post on Facebook, and for me, I get so irritated if I've made a spelling error. So for me, I really want to be able to edit it, but sometimes you also want to delete it or change it in some way. It's very, very discreet on Facebook. You don't really see this arrow unless you pay attention, but if you move your mouse on a post that you've put on across your name over to the right-hand side, there will be a little down arrow that's in gray. It's not even black. If you click on that, you basically get a drop menu like this that gives you the choice, and the one that I use the most is to edit the post and go in and correct my spelling, or you could add a location, or you could change the date. There's a wide variety of things there, but it's really a key that the way Facebook works is often to find what you're looking for, you need to move your mouse to a spot where it would be slightly logical that there might be a menu there, but that's what that down arrow is. So that's if you're looking at your slide. If you're looking at a post from somebody else, you also have the option. But let's go to you. You can go onto your phone now and show.
And I'm going to say, because this one is pretty easy because it's the same as on the computer.
Right.
And here I have the Android on this side, and you can, it's real tiny, but there's this little drop down arrow right on the upper right hand of the post. And there is edit. Edit post, edit privacy, or delete it. And on the iPhone, same thing. You have a little drop down arrow where you can edit, delete.
And
But
I think everybody should keep in mind that when you delete a post, it doesn't mean you can delete it from the memory of people who've already seen the post or the pictures they've seen. So even though you've deleted it, it doesn't mean that, people may have seen it before you got a chance to delete it. That's why I always think it's a good idea to take a deep breath before you put something up there to be sure you're not going to have remorse after you've done it.
okay, and then the second
slide is if you're looking at a post from somebody else. So in this case, a page that I follow is Save Gansevoort, which is a neighborhood near me in New York City. If there are things I wanted to do with that post, I can't manipulate their post. I can't edit it. But as I said before, if it's somebody that you've chosen to follow on Facebook and you don't want to unfriend them, because you want to have access to them if you want to and share things with them, but at the tippity top, it says you could hide the post, which actually leads Facebook to begin editing what posts it sends to you. The more you hide more posts, the more they understand what it is you like to see or don't like to see. But below that, you see where it says unfollow. That's where you literally are unfollowing them so that you don't see them anymore. So I would say hide post from people where, if I don't want to see a cat doing a somersault off a bed over and over again from somebody who loves to post that, if I do hide post, then you'll see that you start seeing those posts less and less. You can also report the post. It's important to know that you do have options. If you see something that's really nefarious and wrong, you have the ability to report the post to Facebook.
Okay, and that one also works the same on the phone, so that's nice.
Yeah.
So tell us about the front door test.
So here's the issue that we talk about. The issue is, how do you, I've sat in on seminars, I'm sure you guys have as well, where for about 45 minutes somebody sits down and they show you all of the settings in the back of Facebook so that you can choose exactly who can or can't see what it is you're sharing. And that's great to know. But the reality is you really can't stop somebody who you've decided to share with from them sharing it with somebody else, whether it's a screen grab that they share, whether they click on the word forward, or they just hold their phone up and show it to somebody. So I think that before you put anything on social networking, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of them, even before you send an email or before you send a text message, I think Tiger Woods can speak to that, you want to ask yourself whether or not it passes the front door test. And what I mean by that is, would you feel all right having this photograph or this website that you're talking about or these words that you've written on the outside of the front door to your home? Because essentially there is the capability of what you put out there being presented to everybody if it should happen to get out that way. Usually it's not that way. Usually it's just the friends that you're sharing with on Facebook, but I think it's wise to know that's a possibility. So it's a great thing actually to say to younger people, those digital natives that you know, you don't want to, you can't tell them what to do and what not to do, but you can just suggest to them that maybe they want to use that front door test as a filter before they share something on any of these social networking websites.
Yes, I do believe in Facebook that you should only share with friends. You know, don't make it public. But some people don't know about that distinction, and it is true that anything that gets posted on the internet has a possibility of being seen by unintended eyes. So maybe I shared it only with my friends, but maybe they took a screenshot and copied it and sent it to somebody else. It's possible.
Right.
But I adjust that a little bit. Instead of saying a front door test, I say it's your local newspaper.
Which is perfect. That makes total sense.
Yeah, because you should not put your home address in your Facebook information.
Right.
So people don't know your home unless they know where you live anyway.
And it's one of those reasons, actually, it's another conversation, but to be sure that you turn off the location services on your phone when you're taking pictures of your grandchildren, because nobody needs to know exactly what time and where their ballet class is. You know what I mean? So we have to be careful when we put photographs up online for what embedded information there is.
Don't take pictures with location settings on of the gold bars in your basement. That's a bad thing.
Well, you can do that. We don't mind if you would do that.
Because generally, I love location services. I mean,
yes,
we're teaching people how to turn them on.
Yes, and generally, it's a great thing to have. For your own vacation, it's so helpful. But I always think when you're taking pictures of children, it's probably better if we turn it off. That's being super cautious.
Tell us a little bit about the difference between Facebook and Twitter now.
Okay, so Facebook essentially, the biggest difference is on Facebook, you are supposed to be who you are. You are not supposed to take on a false identity, and that's so that people can find you. Now, the truth is 33% of people on Facebook are using a false identity. So just to be clear, it's not that people follow that rule, but Facebook would like you to be who you say you are. And when you're on Facebook, when you invite somebody to be your friend, it means it's reciprocal. You can see what they put onto Facebook, and they can see what you put onto Facebook. When you're on Twitter, fundamentally, there are three big differences. One is you can have any name you want, Yellow Bird, you know, Rolls Royce, whatever you want to call yourself. It's not reciprocal. You follow people, and they follow you. But people who you're following don't have to follow you, and vice versa. So it is not a reciprocal action. And the other fundamental difference, although I think this is changing momentarily, is tweets, which is what you type onto Twitter, as opposed to when you post something on Facebook, are limited to 140 characters. And that is the brevity that I love about Twitter, where Facebook people can go on. On Twitter, you're limited to 140 characters, which also means if you start to use Twitter, you'll notice there's almost a language about, like texting, about how people abbreviate what they're doing in order to convey something in that small format. So those are sort of the fundamental differences. I think in a style difference, Twitter's a faster moving place than Facebook. Facebook tends to move a little bit slower. The slide that we seeing this is basically what Twitter looks like as a page, and in the center you see the same sort of news feed that you see in the center when you're on Facebook. What you see at the bottom there is that's an example of a tweet that I've written. And this is when I was at Senior Planet, which is where actually Geeks on Tour will be speaking when they visit New York. So I just said, talking Twitter with the folks at Senior Planet, ... Tech Fun, but you notice there's a hashtag before Tech Fun. The two symbols that are used consistently with Twitter that are not used with Facebook is the @ symbol and the hashtag. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because we hear a lot. You'll be watching television and somebody will say hashtag this or @ this. The @ symbol, I don't know if you guys remember, especially that you're on the road all the time, when everybody had CB radios and everybody had a handle on the CB radio. I would think I was in junior high school when that became a big fad here, and my handle was Kitty Litter, and my best friend's was Terry Cloth. And so we would talk to the truckers with, Kitty Litter and Terry Cloth. That's what that @ symbol is. That means that what follows the @ symbol is your handle on Twitter. So whatever name you've given yourself or your organization has or whatever. So in this case, it's @ Senior Planet. Because Senior Planet has a Twitter page of their own, when I do @ Senior Planet within the context of a tweet that I've written, Senior Planet gets a notification that I've mentioned them in the tweet. So you in turn would get a notification if somebody mentioned you in their tweet, and that's often how people actually relate to each other on Twitter, by putting somebody else's handle into whatever they're tweeting about. So the @ symbol is about the handle. The hashtag is an
Let me show this, Addie.
Oh, sure. Oh, do, please. Yes.
So I'm on the Android here, and we go into Twitter. And so, for example, just because I knew we were doing this, I did a tweet just this morning, and I made sure to put @ Abby Stokes on it, so, and to see how that worked. So if I go to my home, my profile, here I wrote @ Abby Stokes. Looking forward to our show this afternoon, and that means you saw that right away, right?
I saw that, and actually when I saw it, I retweeted it, so everybody who follows me on Twitter saw your tweet, so they would know about the show.
Right.
So to retweet, if you're looking at the screen right now that you're looking at, you see how there's an arrow below what you tweeted that points to the left?
Yeah.
Just beside it is an arrow that's sort of traveling in a circle.
Yeah.
That arrow, if you tapped on that, that lets you retweet. I don't think you can retweet your own tweet. That's why it's not active for you. But whenever anybody tweets something to you and you want to share it with other people, you tap on that, sort of looks almost like the recycling symbol. And that means that your tweet will then go out to anybody else in your feed.
Yeah, and then the other one, the hashtag, is completely different. So here's a bunch of other ones. Wherever you say the @ it goes to that person. But the hashtag is how to curate a specific topic. So for example, I also wrote a message and I added the hashtag, and hashtag is the same as the #. So I go into search, and if I search for # or hashtag, what does this button do? It will discover, it will unearth any text messages, any tweets that has that on it. And notice there's mine, but then it's nothing specific. I mean, here are other people that just kind of randomly wrote hashtag, what does this button do?
And you can make, you basically, in the content of any tweet that you write, you can create any hashtag that you want. A hashtag is followed by the # and there are no spaces. And you'll discover, like in your case, other people had used the same hashtag, but with different meanings.
Right.
But it means that you could now build a community. The way this all works is like a spider web. When you search for what does this button do to see who else is saying what you're saying, you now can meet a handful of people or millions of people who are talking about something like-minded to what you're doing, and now you can introduce them to what you offer, and you can see what they're talking about, because I'm assuming they're sort of in the same industry.
Yeah, and hashtags started in Twitter, but you can use them on Facebook as well.
It's true, you can.
Yeah, as long as the post that you use it on is public, then you can also unearth any others that use that hashtag.
I think where hashtags are really helpful is if you're at a conference or you're not at the conference and you want to hear what's going on, often events will have a hashtag. And you can basically search for things happening at that event instantaneously while you're sitting there and see how people are commenting. Like you had mentioned, you do that during an awards ceremony.
Right, right. During the Academy Awards, I was on Twitter and was watching the hashtag Academy Awards, and you see all the things, both good and bad, that anybody is saying about the ceremony.
And I think that sort of speaks to that fundamental difference between Facebook and Twitter. Facebook is this place that we communicate, but Twitter has a much more alive, in the moment sort of feel about it. And that's where, you know, if I were looking for something that just happened in the news, I'd be more apt to look at Twitter than I would at Facebook, because you've got sort of more people responding in a quicker method on Twitter, I think.
And such an easy way to see people who you don't know. Whereas on Facebook, it's people who you know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's your friends and family and stuff like that. Okay, so we have like 4 minutes left for Instagram and LinkedIn.
Well, it's good because Instagram is really about saving time. The difference between Instagram is, again, it's not reciprocal, so you don't need to follow somebody who's choosing to look at your pictures, but vice versa. Really, Instagram is that a photograph is worth 1,000 words. And so where we have these two formats we've been talking about that involve, for the most part, people sharing pictures but talking about the pictures and exchanging a lot of communication with language, Instagram is really about images. So Instagram is not something you do on a computer. It's something you generally do on a smartphone or a tablet, although you can open up you can register with them online on a computer. You're going to share images, and you can like images, and you can comment below them, but it's brief. Or you can look at images that people share. So like my goddaughters, I follow them on Instagram purely because I love to see what pictures they share. A lot of people do their food porn pictures on Instagram. Even your traveling pictures on Instagram, it's a great way to sort of show people what you're doing without feeling like it's faster on your phone than going to Facebook and putting the pictures on Facebook. So I think there's Instagram says a lot in just the first part of the name. But it's really about pictures and not words.
And Instagram seems to be more popular amongst the younger folks.
You know, everything they do gets condensed. So, you know, they don't write letters, they don't write emails, they don't even do texts anymore. They just take pictures and share the pictures to express themselves. So you're absolutely right.
And then a couple words about LinkedIn.
So LinkedIn is very important. It is the largest social networking site specifically for professionals. So if you know somebody who is seeking employment, or somebody who is seeking employees, or someone who wants to stay in touch with the market that they were working in if they're retired, LinkedIn is the place to go for that. So LinkedIn isn't where you talk about your cat doing somersaults. LinkedIn is where you share your resume or give references for people that you've worked with, either to seek employment or to gather employees.
It really is quite powerful, though.
It's huge. I think anybody who's thinking of getting a job or entering a new field, you would be foolish not to have yourself on LinkedIn. It would seem unprofessional at this point. I mean, many places won't ask for your resume. They're going to ask for your LinkedIn link first, and they're going to see your resume anyway.
And guess what? Those 4 are just the top 4. Look at all these.
And we had a question over here about... how does Google Plus fit in these days in the social networking world?
It's a very good question. Google Plus never took on the same number of people using it as Facebook, but Google Plus absolutely has its place. And I think where Google Plus exceeds Facebook is you can actually create little worlds within your world where you can compartmentalize people into groups, and that's something that Facebook doesn't offer you the same way Google Plus does. So I think a lot of people appreciate it for that reason. It's just not as popular, so you don't hear about it as much.
But there is good stuff on there, though. Mm-hmm. I said Facebook is organized around your friends. Mm-hmm. Google Plus is organized around your interests.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
And which one of this list would you expect your granddaughter to be using?
I think she's using Instagram. I'd be willing to use Facebook with you. The truth is she's using them all. You have to figure out which one she wants to communicate with you on.
Yeah, you have to go where if you want to communicate with somebody on social media, you have to go wherever they are.
Yeah. Often, grandkids will let their grandparents onto Facebook when they won't let their parents on, which is sort of interesting to me.
And you have some great ideas on how grandparents can learn social media through their grandkids.
Well, I think it's the best, instead of thinking you've got to bite the whole Facebook or Twitter or Instagram pie, instead just say, I'm going to be introduced to one of these, whichever it is, by only joining with my granddaughter or your grandson, so that you see what they do. It's nice, a slow and steady pace. And it's, again, if we talk about curiosity and benefit, what's a better benefit than seeing your grandchild's pictures instead of a whole bunch of other pictures you don't know why you're seeing them? So start out very specifically with people who would interest you to share on this, whatever format it is, and that makes it much more fun.
And you have given an example of posting a photo that your grandkid will see of their great-grandfather or some other relative at age 4. I mean,
I think it's fantastic to start a dialogue. Yeah, start a dialogue with your family. Like when your grandchild is 14, post a picture of their dad at 14 and say, what do you think he was thinking about at your age? What are the, it gives them a great perspective on, that their parents were kids at some point and that you were the adult that actually saw them as kids. So I think these formats are fantastic for sharing that kind of information with your family and getting exciting conversation going. The worst thing you can do with a grandchild is ask a yes or no question.
All right.
Okay, here's one. Snapchat is popular among the young people also.
It's a great point, and I use Snapchat. So Snapchat, the uniqueness of Snapchat is that basically what you share disappears right after you share it. So it's sort of a funny format where you can express yourself, but you don't feel like there's this lingering trail of information. And it's a great example. The only people I follow on Snapchat are my 2 goddaughters, and I love using it. I don't ever put anything on Snapchat. I just watch what they put on Snapchat.
You're lurking.
I'm lurking, exactly.
Okay, John wants to know, is Instagram an app that needs to be installed on the phone or tablet?
Yes, I don't think it comes did it come pre-installed on your Android? It didn't come pre-installed on my iPhone.
It did not.
No, I had to install it. And it's not a website, right? It is just an app.
You can go to their website to register if that's an easier format for you to type in your email address and your password. So you can go to their website, but you can't actually see the feed on their website.
Because the whole purpose is to take a picture and post it.
Right. And the other thing with Instagram that's interesting is when you take the picture, they have a plethora of filters, so you can actually alter the picture in many different really fun ways before you post it.
Oh, right. Filters.
Filters.
To me, they just ruin a good picture.
Well, I take lousy pictures, so sometimes a filter saves my life. You probably take very good pictures regularly.
I just wanted to comment on a couple others on this More Social Networks list, and that is the Our Village and the Nextdoor. These are examples of social networks, but for very custom groups of social people. Mm-hmm. So Our Village is a social network specifically for RVers. When you pull into an RV park, you open up Our Village, you say you're there. You see who else is there who is part of Our Village, and you can form get-togethers. And the Nextdoor is a social network for neighborhoods. You need to borrow a cup of sugar, or a lawnmower, and your neighbors respond and share neighborhood resources.
That's cool.
Meetup is also a fun thing to look at and see about, arranging get-togethers with people with like-minded interests.
Yes, Meetup too. And then what's Tinder?
Oh, well, Tinder. Then we get into love online, don't we? So there are many different ways to meet people online, and there's been a lot of online dating, and Tinder is now the hottest, fastest way to find people where you are and basically see if you have interest in meeting up in whatever fashion that is. I remember the first time I did online dating, and they said, are you interested in marriage? Are you interested in play? And I thought play meant casual. Play meant much more casual than I was thinking, but much more physically active. Yeah, it was a bit of a rude awakening.
And it's Tinder where the swipe right and swipe left comes from, right?
Yes.
You got to make sure to do it the right direction, or you'll be saying something that maybe you don't mean to say.
Here's one.
Anchor.
I
All
don't
audio. No idea.
I don't know anything about Anchor. That's fascinating.
There's always going to be something new that we don't know about.
All right, and this last slide, I think, is why do you have Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube on your website?
So I think you'll see that more and more when you're on websites. You go to a website, you're interested in what they're talking about, and most places have those icons available so that you can tap on them and go directly to their page and choose to subscribe or join. Like you guys have a YouTube page, so do I, so people can find that icon on people's websites, click on it, and go directly to the YouTube page, see what's there. If you like it, then you subscribe.
Yeah, and it's not just for individuals. It's for
Exactly.
businesses and
Yes.
groups. Some of
Yes.
my favorite pages on Facebook are groups, RVing groups and others. You know?
Sure.
Jolyn says that she finds it so much easier to deal with Facebook on the computer instead of the phone. Don't even have a Facebook app on the phone. What are the benefits of using a phone to access Facebook versus on a PC?
Pathologically being able to check it all the time. And that may not be a benefit.
Yeah.
I think it's fair play, actually. I agree. I actually prefer looking at it on the computer, but I do check it on the phone sometimes. I'm on a train, I'm bored. I flick through some of the things on Facebook so that I keep up to date so my newsfeed doesn't get too old.
Or if you're at a restaurant and you want to leave them a nice review, or you want to take a picture of a great meal you just had, what do we call that?
Food porn.
Food porn.
Food porn. and the ability to take a picture and send it right away. I just love that. Once you get used to that, you can't wait until you get back to your computer.
It's true.
All right. Well, thanks for that overview of social media and fun.
It was my pleasure.
I don't see any new questions here. I think we pretty much covered them through there.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us, Abby?
No, except when am I going to see you? That's what the only question I have, but we'll figure that out as your calendar fills up.
It's either August or September, somewhere around there.
It's a lovely time to visit New York. Well, August could be a little hot. September will be lovely, hopefully.
September, okay, that's what we're aiming for then. And
all right,
we're still going to do an app.
Okay.
And just like us on Facebook. And our app of the week, Abby suggested Sit or Squat. Tell us about Sit or Squat.
So I teach in New York City, and so I teach for 2 hours, I get on my bicycle, I go to the next student, and sometimes I need to find a ladies' room, and you never really know where you're going to find a ladies' room. So Sit or Squat, it's sponsored by Charmin, and when you tap on the app, it finds where you are, and it will tell you the nearest public bathroom. You can write a review, and other people write reviews, and that allows you to find the place you need the most sometimes quickly. So I'm a huge fan of Sit or Squat. It actually, to me, it speaks for how many gajillion apps there are out there that somebody could actually think of this app. Just makes you realize there are so many out there for you to use.
Well, what really blew me away is I went to install it in case you wanted to demonstrate something, and it is one of dozens of bathroom finder apps.
I do think it might have been the first, but you're right. I looked at it recently. I was like, who knew there were so many bathroom finder apps?
It was at the top of the list, but the list went on and on. And I realized why we haven't used it is because when we travel, we take our own bathroom with us.
Oh, yes, that's
right.
right.
We don't need it that much.
That's the whole reason for traveling by RV, or it's a good reason anyway.
Wow, there's a lot more comments here. I'm going to bring some of those up real quick. And yeah, everyone in Panama is using WhatsApp. Businesses, taxis, friends. It is the most popular messaging app out there in the world. 1 billion people are on it.
Outside of the U.S.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. I still have a flip phone. Money is tight, and I really would like a smartphone that has an inexpensive plan and is able to take good pictures and videos. I can see my new grandson. Any suggestions? Well, there are. Probably iPhone is out of the question if you want something that's inexpensive. Although T-Mobile has some pretty good plans. There are so many Android phones out there that are possible.
Or the Walmart Android phones that would have the month-to-month, what's that?
Oh, I forget. Track phones.
Track phones,
Got it.
yeah. And they
Okay.
do have Android ones now.
Okay, there's another one that Anchor is only available for the iPhone.
Oh.
I didn't know that. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Well, we've gone way over time, but that's what we
We're
should.
still within an hour.
We're doing good. But here we go. It's review time. Did you learn something? Match the social network, Abby, to the description. What's best for job seekers?
LinkedIn.
Okay, and best for staying in touch with far-flung family and friends.
I would say Facebook.
Okay, I think I agree. All about pictures.
Oh, that's Instagram.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And one that lets you follow discussions about an event by searching a hashtag.
Twitter.
If you want to use a social media to communicate with your granddaughter, what do you use?
You have to ask them.
It's so important that, because they're on something you might not even know anything about.
And what's lovely is they'll introduce you to something new.
Yeah, it's scary when they do that. True or false? Social networks are solely designed for use by individuals.
No, businesses, organizations, they're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's college degrees now on
Yes.
social networking for businesses.
Right? True or false? Info you post on Facebook can only be seen by your Facebook friends.
I say false because they might share it with other people.
Mm-hmm. All right. If you don't want to share your info with others, you may still use social networks to do what?
I'm sorry?
Put it up.
Somebody knocked on my front door as you were saying that.
If you don't want to share your info with others, you may still use social networks to.
Oh, to observe businesses and look at organizations?
To lurk, yeah.
To lurk.
To lurk.
As a newspaper.
Right. And to learn more about Abby and her book, go to the website.
AskAbbyStokes.com.
Yes.
Very cool. All right.
And watch for her to speak at a computer club or library near you.
Absolutely.
My events are on my website.
Yes.
And go to Abby's website and check it out. Thanks again, Abby. You've been a wonderful guest. We appreciate you. So, Chris, what's the webpage that lists all of our weekly shows?
Geeksontour.com, and the menu item is Weekly Show.
And the webpage that lists all of our recent newsletters?
Geeksontour.com, and the menu item is blogs and articles. Our newsletters are all under there.
Great. Benefits you get by joining Geeks on Tour.
Number 1 is access to all the prepared tutorial videos. Second is being able to ask us questions in the Ask the Geeks member Q&A forum. And last is the show notes or class notes on our Save What Does This Button Do shows.
And we do invite you again to become a member at geeksontour.com, and you have some great benefits there. All right.
Aw, Vicki.
Next time.
Hi, Vicki. Better late than never.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So next topic, May 1st.
Backups. What do you need to back up on your phone and how?
And watch for the notification for our next show. Make sure to click that you're coming and leave any questions in the comments, either on the YouTube page or on the Google Plus event page. It's on tour. Yeah.
What does this button do?
I don't know.
Just keep pushing those buttons.
Don't touch that
Yeah, you just got to see what happens. Be curious.
button. Be careful. See you next time. Bye-bye.